Hey guys, we are here for week 12 of the Porsche Cup Fixed series. We're at Long Beach this week, which is probably the most challenging circuit on the calendar for this season. So, um, track wise, there's only 11 corners, so you'd think, oh yeah, 11 corners, but it's just how close you got to be to these walls to really extract the speed out of the car. So, same as always, we're on the fixed setup. We will cruise down, do a walkthrough lap with you guys, and then there'll be a hot lap at the end of the session. So, we'll kick straight off into it, and we'll get on with it. So, as you're coming down, you want to be on the outside and then sort of cut across be close to this wall as you're coming through the turn. I guess you call it turn one, but it's not really turn one. It's just a straight with a massive kink in it. I then set the car up about this point here, and then I start to drift back towards the right-hand side of the circuit. You want to brake at the 500 meter board. I don't think it's 500 meters, but I think it's just they use different signposts. I think it's like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 style of boarding. So, because they definitely don't look like there's 100 meters in between each of them. So, now the trick here is you've got to use the extent of the circuit, but obviously, as a lot of you guys will know, there is the slowdown penalties and off-track penalties if you cross into the pit lane. So the blue line is the line you've got to watch. So you can actually use about that much, but you can't be over that blue line because that's what catches you out. That's where you start to get your penalties. So use it as a grain of salt. But I try to stay closer to the red line than the blue line, especially when you're at speed and you're racing around other guys. The lines tend to not be the factor of what you're paying attention to at the time, and it is quite easy to put your car in the wrong spot. So as you come down, so 500 meter, big braking pressure, I go all the way back to second gear, and then once I get to, it's about this point here, so in line with the Firestone logo on that side, that's where I start to turn the car at the corner. So I turn the car quite aggressively at the corner here. I just find if I can get it hooked up, I turn it quite early. I pinch it down onto the curb. I don't use all the curb, but I get like to this point here. And I just feel like I can get myself better drive traction out of this coming in from there. There probably is an advantage to turning a little bit later and trying to rotate the corner more, but I feel like for my driving style in this car, I have to sort of attack early. And then as I come off the curb, I sort of aim for the white and red signed wall further ahead, so it's sort of like a diagonal. And then as I come past the Acura sign, I start to rotate the car towards the NOS sign. And then that's where I am. I go to third gear, and then I go third back to first gear. Big brake pressure, get the car rotated in. As I attack the entrance, I come in and then I try and hold up the center of the corner. So I follow the curb right the way around till I get to the NTT sign, and then I punch the throttle, and then I get a nice straight exit out, and I sort of drift a little bit to the middle, but not too much. I want to set myself up, and then I brake at the end of the blacked out sign. So about this point here is where I brake. Obviously, first to second. Then I second gear, stay in second, brake, get the car to rotate in. I turn in quite late here. I turn in at the speed sign, the K1 speed signs. Turn the car in. Not all the curb, but sort of about that much of the curb. Half the car sort of over it. You just got to watch because the last little bit of the curb has actually got like banking on it, so that's where the car will bounce over it, and then it sort of upsets the balance. Then let the car track right out to the fence. Now this is the tricky one here. So second to third, or you can hold second and crack the limiter for it's about half a second to a second, and then you're off the throttle again anyway. They're much of a muchness. It just really depends on what you're feeling. I feel like if you go second to third, then back to second, you're doing it in such a short space of time that it can sometimes upset the balance of the car, or it's quite easy to overrun your entry. But then obviously the second you're out of breath on full throttle, so it's not helping the car either. So it's much of a muchness. I've tried both ways. I probably prefer second and hold it, but the third thing does work as well. So it just depends on the exit out of the corner before as well. Because if you get a really good exit, then obviously third's the only option. So as you come down, nice and close to the wall. There's no real brake marker for this one, so it really depends on like what gear you're in. I'm using around about this point here, so as you can see, there's nothing around to sort of signify it. I sort of say a car length before the arrows on the road is roughly where I'm comfortable. But yeah, and then same again here, you just stay as close to the wall as possible. Turn in at the Firestone logo sign, so this one right here, and then turn the car at the corner. Get two wheels on the red and white curb bit, and then don't turn the wheel too tight, because if you look, the track actually slopes away from the corner. So if you've got too much steering lock in, soon as you pick that throttle up, the car's just going to rotate on you. So you want to sort of let the car track out wider before you really start to unwind the steering and give it too much steering. Let it run right to the fence. Up to third. Up to fourth, and then I'm using the red Firestone wall as my brake marker going into this corner, so it's about 220 meters roughly. Back to second, so fourth back to second. Get as close to the wall as possible. Turn in at the end at the K1 speed signs. Get nice and close to this wall here. Then you sort of want to aim for the last of the Firestone boards on the fence, so let it run all the way out. Use all the circuit, run it right to the edge of the road. Then start tracking back towards the left, up to third. Round the 200 board, brake, back to second. Now, I turn in really early here. The goal is to get half the car over this curb. So at this sort of trajectory here, and then let the car chase itself right out to the wall where all them scrub marks are on the wall. That's where you want to be. And then up the noise, through the gears. Alright, and then you're looking for the 400. Then you want to go fifth to second. Turn in very early here at the 1. Use all the curb. 2 tyres over the curb is fine. Then set yourself up in the middle. And then when you turn, stay in second here. All the curb here again. Let the car breathe off the throttle a little bit. Let the car rotate. Then on the curb again. Brake. Down to first. And then turn in at this point here. So you want to be quite early at your turning, because if you can actually get in the groove, the car will hook up better than if it's on the... If you run deeper and try and rotate the car more. I just find that if you can sort of carry more momentum in, stay shallow and tight, get the car to this point here, and then pick up the throttle, the car's going to drive off the corner really nice. You're going to use all the track. You're not going to have to put so much steering lock into it. So, and there you go, guys. That's your walkthrough lap of Long Beach in the Porsche 911 Cup car. We'll heat the tyres up and give you a hot lap. that, guys, is the lap of Long Beach in the Porsche 911 Cup Car. Good luck for this week's racing.